Beneath the sands of Egypt lie 25 granite containers, each weighing 100 tons. No engineer on Earth can explain how they were made. In India stands an iron pillar that hasn't rusted for 16 centuries, while modern steel succumbs in just years. In Iraq, they found a battery, assembled 2,000 years before Volta presented his own. These items don't fit into textbooks because textbooks were written by people who never saw them. Today, we'll examine 7 real ancient discoveries, each looking like it was left behind by travelers from the future. And we'll begin with the heaviest mystery, quite literally. All 7 items can be touched by hand, each is housed in a real museum, and every single one shatters our conventional view of the past. Egypt, Saqqara, the year 1850 AD. French archaeologist Auguste Mariette noticed a stone sphinx poking out of the sand northwest of Djoser's pyramid. After excavating a whole avenue of these sphinxes, he realized they led to the entrance of an underground structure. When his team broke through, they had to use dynamite because the passages were sealed shut. Beyond the stone walls, a labyrinth of long tunnels, carved directly into the limestone, opened up. In the largest gallery, 25 gigantic boxes made of black and pink granite stood on either side of the corridor. Each box is 4 meters long, 2.5 meters wide, and 3 1/3 meters tall. The lid alone weighs 30 tons, and the total mass of the container approaches 100 tons. That's the weight of a fully loaded train car, hidden away in a tight underground niche. When Mariette opened one of the boxes using explosives, he found nothing inside but emptiness and smooth walls. Official science calls this place the Serapeum and claims it was used to bury the sacred Apis bulls. The problem is, not a single opened box contained any bull remains or signs of mummification. Instead, they found something far more unsettling than mummies, an inhuman precision in stoneworking. Engineer Christopher Dunn, who spent 49 years in high-tech manufacturing, measured the inner surfaces of 2 boxes. He used an industrial caliper with a tolerance of 2/10,000ths of an inch. The walls turned out to be flat to a degree achievable only with computer-controlled machines. The corners are perfectly 90 degrees, and the radius at the corners is a mere 4 millimeters. When Dunn approached an American firm asking them to replicate such a box from a solid piece of granite, they gave him a direct answer. Even with an unlimited budget, it would have to be assembled from 6 separate slabs. Yet, ancient craftsmen carved each container from a single monolith, quarried in Aswan, 800 kilometers away from Saqqara. The rock of most boxes has a hardness of 6.5 on the Mohs scale, and some are made of diorite, which is even harder. The tunnels are so narrow, 2 people can barely pass each other. How those 100-ton blocks were turned at right angles in the corridors and lowered into niches with only 40 centimeters of clearance, science remains silent. There's simply no space to position levers or a crew of workers, and ancient Egyptians officially had no hydraulics. One unfinished box still stands in the middle of a tunnel, as if the builders abandoned it halfway and left forever. Roughly scratched hieroglyphs on the outer walls sharply contrast with the mirror polish inside. It's as if completely different people applied the inscriptions, thousands of years after the containers themselves were created. If you're feeling now that regular channels tell the story too blandly, subscribe. Here, we dig where textbooks end. What do you think? Why is surgical precision needed for a bull's sarcophagus? Write your opinion in the comments. Let's jump from the underground galleries of Egypt to the seabed of the Mediterranean Sea. In 1901, Greek sponge divers got caught in a storm near the island of Antikythera. The captain sent a diver down to save time, and he surfaced in a panic. He was shouting about dead bodies at a depth of 60 meters. The captain went down himself and saw not a graveyard, but the remains of an ancient Roman ship, sunk around 85 BCE. The dead bodies turned out to be marble statues that had lain in the sand for 2 millennia. Among the sculptures and scattered coins lay an unremarkable piece of greenish bronze. For 2 years, it gathered dust in a box at the National Museum in Athens until a politician, Spiridon Sties, noticed a crack. Inside, a gear gleamed, tiny, perfectly cut, within an object over 2,000 years old. Newspapers screamed about a sensation. Skeptics cried, "Fake," but a 21st century X-ray scanner set the record straight. Inside, a system of 37 bronze gears was hidden, the largest 13 centimeters in diameter, with 223 teeth. This device, the size of a laptop, calculated the positions of the sun, moon, and 5 planets. It predicted solar and lunar eclipses, tracked the cycles of the Olympic Games, and showed the moon's phases. European science wouldn't achieve this level of calculation accuracy for another 1,500 years. The mechanism accounted for the moon speeding up and slowing down along its elliptical orbit. To achieve this, 2 gears were mounted inside on a displaced axis, essentially a differential, that very same component that allows your car's wheels to spin at different speeds when turning. The teeth on each wheel are cut with precision far beyond any hand file. Triangular teeth, identical as if stamped. The inscriptions on the back panel, recently deciphered thanks to tomography, turned out to be a detailed user manual. The missing pointers on the front panel held colored balls, fiery red for Mars, golden for the Sun. Researchers from University College London called the original a masterpiece, blending Babylonian astronomy with the mathematics of Plato's Academy. Whoever assembled this device understood the cosmos on a level humanity wouldn't reach for another 20 centuries. The Roman orator Cicero, back in the 1st century before Christ, described a similar contraption crafted by Archimedes in Syracuse. So the Antikythera mechanism wasn't a lone wonder. It belonged to an entire tradition, of which only this one example has survived. The Greeks packed the heavens into a bronze box, while Indian blacksmiths, around the same era, were taming iron. In the courtyard of the Quwwatul Islam Mosque in Delhi stands a column, 7 meters 20 centimeters tall and weighing over 6 tons. An inscription in Sanskrit links it to King Chandragupta II of the Gupta dynasty, from the 4th century AD. For 16 centuries, this column has stood out in the open, enduring monsoon downpours and scorching heat, yet it shows almost no rust. Ordinary iron in Delhi's climate would be covered in rust within mere years, and the Eiffel Tower needs repainting every 7 years. In the 18th century, a cannonball struck the column, but it held firm, leaving only a dent at a height of 4 meters. People have been trying to solve this mystery since 1912, when British chemists first took samples. The answer emerged 91 years later, when Professor Balakrishnan from the Indian Institute of Technology in Kanpur published his research. His team employed X-ray diffraction, electrochemical tests, and microscopy to finally understand what was happening on the metal's surface. The column's iron contains about 1% phosphorus, while having virtually no sulfur or magnesium. This composition triggers the formation of a layer of crystalline iron phosphate, just 1/20th of a millimeter thick. This layer acts like an invisible shield, self-healing cracks with every wet and dry cycle. Essentially, ancient blacksmiths created a natural precursor to stainless steel 15 centuries before it was invented. They used forge welding, heating and hammering the iron just right to preserve the phosphorus, all without any tools or textbooks. Modern metallurgy still hasn't replicated the precise combination of composition and durability found in this column. 6 tons of iron, without a single gram of paint, stand exposed to the elements, winning a battle our entire industry is losing. And what country are you from? Let us know in the comments. We're curious to see where our viewers are tuning in from. The Indians mastered iron, and the Romans in the 4th century conquered the world. In the British Museum, behind armored glass, stands the Lycurgus Cup, the only intact piece of dichroic glass from antiquity. If light hits it from the front, the cup appears a jade green, but when it shines through the glass from behind, it glows a vibrant ruby red. Carved onto its surface is a scene from mythology. King Lycurgus entangled in vines, while the god Dionysus watches his demise. The carving is done in the cloisonné technique, where glass is cast into a thick block and then cut down into an intricate lattice. But the trick of the color change isn't in the carving, it's embedded within the very structure of the glass itself. The mystery was solved in the 1990s, when fragments of similar Roman glass were examined under an electron microscope. Inside, they discovered particles of a gold and silver alloy about 50 nanometers in size, 1,000 times smaller than
the time.
About 50 nanometers in size, 1,000 times smaller than a grain of salt. When light strikes these tiny inclusions, the metal's electrons begin to vibrate, altering the wavelength of the light. The silver is responsible for the green color in reflection, while the gold creates the red when light passes through. This effect is called plasmon resonance, and today it's used in sensors and holographic technologies. Roman masters ground gold and silver into particles invisible to the eye and fused them into glass in a 7:3 ratio. Scientists from Cambridge, only in 2014, managed to reproduce a similar effect, creating arrays of 16 million nanoparticles per millimeter. The Romans achieved the same thing 16 centuries ago, without microscopes, without lasers, without optics textbooks. The secret of its production died with the empire, and the Lycurgus Cup remains the sole complete witness. Today, researchers are trying to use this ancient principle to create ultra-sensitive water pollution detectors. Technology born for the banquet table could save millions of lives 17 centuries after its invention. The Romans manipulated light, and their contemporaries in the East, perhaps, manipulated electricity. In 1936, during the construction of a railway near Baghdad, workers unearthed an ancient burial site. It was located not far from the ruins of Ctesiphon, the capital of the Parthian Empire. Among the findings was a 14-centimeter tall clay jar with a copper cylinder inside. In the center of the cylinder hung an iron rod, not touching the walls, and the neck was sealed with a bitumen plug. Wilhelm Koenig, director of the National Museum of Iraq, immediately recognized the construction of a galvanic cell. 2 metals with different electrochemical potentials, separated by space for a liquid electrolyte. Traces of corrosion on the walls indicated the presence of an acid, most likely vinegar or grape juice. American scientist Willard Gray assembled an exact replica and filled it with grape juice, and the device actually produced an electric current. Such a device can generate about 1 volt, and several connected jars would provide current for gilding jewelry. Similar vessels were discovered in nearby Seleucia, with bronze and iron needles lying right next to them. In the 1st century, Roman physician Scribonius Largus described treating gout with an electric ray placed directly on the patient's feet. The concept of using electricity in medicine was known to the ancient world long before science even gave it a name. The Baghdad Battery predates Volta's official invention by at least 16 centuries. In 2003, it was stolen from the museum during the invasion of Iraq, and its fate remains unknown. We lost possibly the oldest electrical device in history, and we can't even perform a modern analysis on it. Let's head back to Egypt, but this time to an object that fits on a dinner table and looks like a part from a machine shop. In that same year, 1936, archaeologist Walter Emery unearthed the tomb of an official named Sabu in the Saqqara necropolis. Lying next to the skeleton was a cracked stone disc, 61 centimeters in diameter. It's carved from metasiltite, a brittle rock that flakes apart with the slightest careless touch. 3 curved blades converge towards a central hub, and from above, the disc is indistinguishable from the impeller of an industrial pump. The tomb dates back about 5,000 years, to the First Dynasty, when tools were made from stone and soft copper. How they carved such delicate blades from a rock that crumbles at an awkward touch without a single chip, nobody can explain. An enthusiast printed a replica on a 3-dimensional printer and placed it inside a housing with a shaft. When rotated, the replica began to powerfully pump water, functioning like a classic centrifugal impeller. Without the housing, the spinning disc created a stable water vortex with such force that the shape coincidence is impossible. Engineers at Airbus also printed copies and confirmed the aerodynamic properties, although the disc cannot function as a propeller. Egyptologist Cyril Aldred noticed that the disc's shape suggested it was a copy of a much older, metallic original. If Sabu's disc is indeed a model of a lost mechanism, we're looking at a trace of ingenuity that vanished before recorded history began. 5,000 years ago, someone in the Nile Valley knew how to pump water using centrifugal force. And then, that knowledge dissolved into the sand, taking with it the name of the person who invented it. The latest discovery isn't hidden underground. It stands before thousands of tourists every single day, near Xi'an, China. In 1974, peasants digging a well stumbled upon fragments of a clay figure. This marked the beginning of the discovery of the Terracotta Army, over 8,000 life-sized warriors crafted from baked clay. Each figure is life-sized, and no 2 faces are alike, even though only 8 basic molds were used for the heads. They guarded the tomb of China's first emperor, Qin Shi Huangdi, whose construction mobilized 700,000 laborers. Less than 1% of the entire complex has been excavated so far, but the real sensation wasn't the statues, it was their weaponry. From the pits, they unearthed more than 40,000 bronze arrowheads, swords up to 95 centimeters long, spears, and crossbow mechanisms. After 2,200 years underground, the blades gleamed as if they were forged yesterday, and the edges remained razor sharp. For 40 years, scientists believed the secret lay in a chromium coating, as traces of chromium were found on the bronze. Chromium plating was only patented in Europe in the 20th century, making the discovery seem utterly incredible. A joint study by University College London and the Terracotta Army Museum in 2019 completely overturned that theory. The chromium on the swords turned out to be contamination from the lacquer used to coat the wooden handles and bamboo shafts. It had absolutely no bearing on the preservation of the bronze itself. The real secret lay in the bronze's composition, with its high tin content and the properties of the local soil. The alkaline loess of Xi'an, with its fine particles and low organic content, created the perfect environment for preserving the metal. Replicas of the bronze, buried in this local soil, remained untouched after 4 months of extreme testing. The very same samples, placed in British soil for the same duration, became covered in thick corrosion. The artisans of the Qin dynasty, 22 centuries ago, had perfectly matched the alloy and the environment to act as an ideal preservative. They didn't know words like electrochemistry or alkaline corrosion, but the result of their work outlasted every empire that followed. 40,000 blades lay in darkness, awaiting their moment, like an order that was never rescinded. What did you find most surprising from today's episode? Let us know in the comments below. We've journeyed through Egypt's underground labyrinths and descended to the bottom of the Mediterranean Sea. We've stood by Delhi's Iron Pillar and peered inside a Roman cup where nanoparticles dance. We've held a 2,000-year-old battery and spun a 5,000-year-old stone turbine. Each of these discoveries is real, documented, and housed in a museum you can visit tomorrow. You don't need to take our word for it. Just buy a plane ticket, go inside, and see it with your own eyes. None of them require aliens for an explanation, but each one demands we acknowledge an uncomfortable truth. Our ancestors possessed knowledge that we are rediscovering millennia later. We call these breakthroughs, while they might have simply called it everyday craftsmanship. Progress, perhaps, isn't a straight line upwards.